Hi there, this is my autobiography entry number 2, and I will be doing prompt B. Identify and explain a cultural value or belief you were unaware of until recently. Where does it stem from? What does it mean to you? And how and in what ways does it influence and or impact you? And why were you unaware of it? So, when doing the first reading of Reading Between the Signs in chapter 4, when they were discussing the differences between American culture, deaf culture, and other cultures around the world, the one that stood out to me was on page 70, Informality and Friendliness. And this section basically talked about how here in the United States, we address everyone on a very informal, friendly manner, um, even if we shouldn't be doing so. So, like with a stranger walking down the street, you might smile at them or say, "Hi there, how are you?" And you would do the same thing if you saw your friend. You would, if they were walking down the street, you would say, "Hey, how are you?" Like, you would approach them and address them the same way. And that's not very typical of other cultures. Um, like, for instance, with other languages, like mentioned in this chapter, there is built in formality in their language. So with Spanish, there's tú and usted. So tú is a more informal way to talk to someone, and usted is a more formal way. You would use usted to talk to your teachers, your parents, elders, and it is more like a formality. And we don't have that here in the United States. Everyone is addressed the same. It's more so in the way that you're talking, is how our formality is used. But in this section, I thought it was really interesting how they said that deaf culture is even more informal. And the quote that said, conversations get to the point faster and more intimate details are quickly shared amongst deaf strangers. And maybe the point is that another deaf person is never really a stranger. And I think this just shows the connection that the deaf culture has, and the deaf community feels very connected and close to one another. But becoming more aware and learning more about this value of American culture has made me start to wonder, like, why is it this way in America? And I think this stems from just, if you don't act this way, if you don't smile on the street, if you don't say hello to people, then you're viewed as a rude person. And that's just an underlying belief here in the United States. My dad is notorious for talking to everyone. He will, if he's on a plane or if he's in line at the grocery store, he will strike up a conversation with anyone. And some people think that's weird, some people think that's normal, but you would never not say hello to, like, your waiter or waitress. You would always say hello to them, ask how they are, and typically if you're rude to people who work in customer service, then you're deemed like a bad person. So it's kind of just an underlying trait that we hold here in the United States, and I think it's kind of just like a way of pretending to be kind to everyone. Like in the book, how it says it's superficial friendliness. I think that's very accurate because I am a coffee shop barista and I approach everyone the same way. I always start with, "Hi there, how are you?" And then conversation continues from there. And normally I'll have a huge smile on my face. I turn away from the window and that smile immediately drops. And it's not because I'm being rude purposely, but it's because I want to make the impression that I'm being more friendly, probably, than I really am. So what it means to me is that I don't know that you can really trust the smiles and the interactions that you're getting on the street as being truthful and wholehearted. Because I know that I smile at everyone on the street, and it doesn't mean that I want to get to know that person more, and I think that's really a negative of our culture. Whereas with deaf culture, if they meet another deaf person, they're having a conversation, they truly are intending on getting to build a connection with that person and getting to know them more. Um, and I really envy that about deaf culture. And I think that's something that we can reflect on as Americans and think about portraying ourselves truthfully to how we feel. But if someone were ever extremely rude to me at my job, I would feel very bad. So I'm kind of happy that we have this value in the United States of smiling at people and addressing everyone with kindness, especially if they're a stranger. Um, I think this influences and impacts me on a day-to-day basis. When I'm walking through the halls at school or at work, I'm always smiling at people. Unless I have like my headphones in, which is kind of like a universal sign here that headphones are in, like no communication is happening between you and another person. Um, but I think that it has impacted the way that I have read signs from other people. Like, if I see someone smiling at me, I might read into it too much and think that they want to build a stronger connection or a stronger friendship with me. So I think it impacts our daily lives. And I think I was unaware of it because it's just the norm here. That's just typically what happens. I think it's funny that they said in the book that it definitely doesn't happen in New York City. I've read about that before, that it's just a hustle and bustle city, fast way of life, and people just don't have time to smile and be nice to other people. Um, but I think cultural values, and especially your own culture, really fall under the radar because they're so second nature and so normal that you don't really put a lot of thought into them. Um, but yeah, that was a value that reading Between the Signs really brought to light for me about American culture. And I thought the rest of this chapter was really interesting, cool, too. It's really cool to get to look into aspects of your culture that you probably otherwise wouldn't get to dig deep into. So, yeah, thank you.